At a time when many churches are experiencing a drop in attendance and are in danger of closing their doors, this small church in the community of Stevenson, Virginia, is thriving. This growth has led Burnt Factory United Methodist Church down the path of a recent remodel and expansion. Some may say that that's just to increase the size of the facilities for a larger congregation. While that may be important, that's really not the primary driver behind the remodel and the expansion. How is it that this church, Burnt Factory UMC, is able to continue to grow and thrive? Hi, my name is Jason Corin, and I'm a member here at Burnt Factory United Methodist Church. And I'd like to show you some examples of how the church is growing and bringing the kingdom of God here to earth. The body is a unit, though it is made up of many parts, and though all its parts are many, they form one body. So it is with Christ. 1 Corinthians 12:12.
This community is amazing in the variety of gifts that it has and the skills in the membership. It's a wonderful mix of people who have generationally been a part of the greater Stevenson area and a part of this church, and a mix of people who have been disappointed in another church and have needed to find a new church home and have found a warmth and an acceptance and a vitality, coming back to that word, here, that has been missing in other churches. And then also in that mix are people that have just not been a part of a church for a while, and they have some kind of a personal crisis that reminds them that there is a God that has a good word for them. And so they've come looking for that good word, and they found it here. And they've been surprised that in finding the good word here, they've also found a people that are very welcoming.
Well, I've been here since birth. Sometimes I feel like I was born here because my family, to your point, was so involved with Burnt Factory over, and still are. My mom's still engaged in everything. But growing up, I can remember outhouses, no indoor plumbing, no addition on the church. Sunday school was 2 or 3 of us. There was a time, late 70s, I'm thinking, probably membership was 50 or 60 people on a given Sunday, one service. So it's been exciting for me to be a part of the transformation.
So I feel very, very blessed to be able to hear my son preach every Sunday and be in church with my family. And the other thing is that people here are so welcoming and so loving. And it was only just a few weeks until I just felt like part of a big family here. So I just wanted to come, and I'm very blessed to be here.
It's the genuineness of the people here, and just how evident, Christ is in all your lives. And it's just very welcoming. It's very
It makes me feel good to know a lot of people here and know that they're always going to be there for me and they're family.
It's the fellowship and the camaraderie and the friendship and the love is never changes with this, with this, not just this group, but with this church. And if we were measured by, whether we're here every single Sunday, we're horribly outcasted. Just with the way we do our summer stuff and everything. But I agree. You know, I mean,
It's somewhat a judge-free
right. Very
environment.
open, very accepting of people's different lifestyles, and that's one of the things that I always thought about this church is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that whether you're dressed up really nice or whether you wore sandals and jeans.
Jeans and a biker jacket.
Right. Right. You can wear jeans and a biker jacket and come in and still be accepted. So,
All good.
yeah.
With the shoes.
Hey, man. Yeah, or Crocs and
Crocs and socks.
Crocs and socks. Come as you are.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen, of course, a big growth. I think a lot of it has to do with the people here being open and non-judgmental and loving, and that spreads out into the community, I think. And I think Steve is a good leader in the fact that he has introduced programs that have been successful, and so just lots of reasons.
And that's been huge for me. Like once Mitchell and I came to Burnt Factory before we had kids, but right away when we started coming regularly is when I found out I was pregnant with Ada, and just right away I knew this is where I want my children to grow up. This is the environment I want them to grow up in, because they mess up here, and it was the first church I've been in that the pastor laughed when the kids made a noise in the middle of some prayer time, or and everyone was like, don't take the crying baby out, like it's fine,
Raspberry.
and everyone welcomes the children. I'm like, I want them to grow up in this where they have grace, they have love, they have that. I mean, a director of children's ministry that will come to your house when your kid's struggling in school, like that is just huge. Like, I'm not alone in raising my children,
Right.
and having this environment is just like, I don't know how I would do it without it.
Burnt Factory is definitely a place of comfort you can come to, and as a youth, I appreciate being able to grow up into it. I'm only 16, but I know that I would definitely want to be in a church like this. Like I feel comfortable when I walk in the doors. I don't feel, what have I done wrong today? I come in and I'm like, wow, I can sit down, I can relax, and I can just hear God's word without, worrying. So it's very nice.
One of the most important characteristics of a church is its hospitality, because you can't fake it. I've been in many churches as a superintendent or as a pastor that have a great program for hospitality. But it's just that, a program. It's not really a vital part of who the church is. And it doesn't get past the first row, as you say. I've had many people tell me that one of their greatest disappointments in life is walking into a church and having no one greet them except the pastor and one usher. That doesn't happen here at Burnt Factory. I think we get it in terms of what it means to be community. And so that's a great foundation for kingdom building, is being that community, because you can't really take the risk of going outside the walls if you're not getting nourished within the walls.
I mean, we built, with the Lord's guidance, a beautiful house for the Lord's people. But the idea wasn't that we were building it for ourselves. The idea was always that we were building it to create a place that wonderful things took place in, and from which wonderful things could happen. And you're absolutely right, our youth have been remarkable in their mission work. Our teams that have gone to Haiti. This church dedicated itself many years ago to not being what they call a maintenance church. It made a deliberate choice when we were still pretty small. I think our average Sunday attendance was in the 60s at the time, that we shouldn't be a church if we weren't going to be a mission church. And as a mission church, we had to stop looking inward and start looking outward. And that change started shortly before Steve joined us as our pastor, and then he has led the charge, sort of like our earthly bound archangel, leading us into battling to make the world better. And there's so much more to do. The world is so broken. But this is a good place to do it from. It's a safe place to do it from. It's a divine place to do it from.
For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, I tell you the truth, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me.
Well, I guess where I would start is to say that my ministry stretched over 40 years, but my involvement in really hands-on mission really was the last half of that, the last 20 years. And what got me started in the hands-on part of the mission was a hurricane. It was Hurricane Andrew that came across Florida. I was serving a church in Vienna, and we received word from the United Methodist Committee on Relief that they were setting up volunteer work centers in the Homestead area of Florida. And so I just announced to the church that we needed to take a team to Florida. And to my surprise, we had, I think, 12 men and 1 woman immediately sign up to go 1,000, well, more than that, closer to 1,500 miles to Homestead. And that was a life-changing experience for everybody who went. First of all, just to see what Hurricane Andrew did to literally thousands and thousands of homes. But also, I think what it said to me was that if the church is not involved in that kind of sacrificial outreach, the church doesn't stay grounded in what Jesus has called us to do. One of the really important words for us as people who make up the kingdom is the word vitality. And that's a great Greek-based word where vita is about life. And so vitality is about the life of the church. And the only way the church stays alive is if it produces fruit. That's what Jesus says in John 15, that we are connected to the vine, and the vine must bear fruit. If it doesn't, the vine dies. It atrophies on its own if it doesn't bear fruit. But also God has no use for vines that don't bear fruit. I think historically, many churches think that the fruit is about growing the church. The fruit that I think Jesus needs to see from us is looking at another part of Scripture. It really is in Matthew 25, where we reach out to those who are imprisoned and who are naked and who are hungry and whose life situation is just in terrible straits. And that by reaching out to them and sharing with them the love of God and the compassion that we have for people, that's the kind of fruit that I think God is really looking for in us. And that's the kind of fruit that is so needed in our current culture.
In 1998, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And as I was going through chemotherapy, 2 of my nurses asked if I would join the Relay for Life team. I asked what it was all about. They explained it completely. And so I did get involved after I finished my chemo. And I actually started Relay in 1998. So I've been involved with it ever since then. And the girls that gave me chemo were very instrumental in explaining to me exactly what the event was all about. And they also were the ones that pressured me to come on and join them. So I did, and that was Shenandoah Oncology team. And I was on that team until 2003. And in 2003, Neely Duvall Hart, a member of our church and also my cousin, passed away with cancer. So the church got involved really at that point in order to not only remember her but also to honor her memory. And that's when we first started our team. We formed the team in 2003. And we did have a relay team that year. That was the first year that we started and had a team. And actually Neely died on January the 9th, and that's probably 2 months after she passed was when we decided to, a few of us got together and decided that we wanted to try to have that team. So we didn't have a whole lot of time to work on it, but we did really well. For our first year, we came in 4th out of 74 members of 74 other teams, with a total of $8,760, I think it was, somewhere along there. And we continued from that point on, and we've had a team every year since then. But in that 15-year period, we have raised $421,995, which is pretty good. And some of the things that we have done to raise that money have been spaghetti dinner and basket auction, and we've had bake sales, we've had socials for singing Sunday socials and also cakewalk socials, we've had rummage sales, yard sales, about anything we could do. But the main thing that each one of the team members does is try to raise some money individually from asking friends and relatives to donate to this. So that's how you raise it individually, and been very successful with it. So actually I was on the board of the American Cancer Society in Winchester for several years. And in being involved in that aspect of it, I did learn that all the money that we take in either goes for research or it stays here for local things. This was started under the program of witnessing, and we felt like that we were witnessing for our church to go out into a community and get involved with this program. It was definitely giving good witness as to what it's all about to know Christ. So I think they could see that from us and from the events that we participated in and how well we did in it, that Christ definitely was part of it. And
well, I guess first came to know about Jubilee Soup Kitchen probably about my first year of college when I was coming back, and found out about it. Went a couple times on Saturdays. It was a great time to just give back to a community that I've been a part of. And I kind of got out of it and wanted to get back into the service. And when we came here to Burnt Factory, the Faith Seekers class was very interested in missions, and it just seemed like a perfect fit. So we tried it out 1 week. Everybody was all for it, and we gave it a whirl. We had about 10 people come out the first week, including some kids. So it was a great time. We served probably anywhere between 80 to 90 people that came from, whether they were homeless or even elderly that just wanted a warm meal that maybe they couldn't prepare for themselves. So it was a great experience for that first week, and so we liked it so much we decided to do it every month. And so every third Saturday we take a group of the faith seekers and we volunteer. We prep the food, we set it out, and serve drinks and serve them and clean up. It's a great opportunity for the parents to open their children's eyes to a world that they are likely not used to or have ever seen before with those that are less fortunate. So it's very eye-opening, and it's very rewarding to see those children want to serve, those that are less fortunate right next to their parents.
My dad has been at Evergreen for a couple years, and he loves music. And I thought it would be a good thing to go in and start doing a hymn sing. So that's what we do. And at first it was our whole choir, and it kind of dwindles and grows and dwindles and grows. So I've been Alan Jackson's backup singer before there when it's just me. So. But it's fun to do it because the residents really, really enjoy it. They like it. Some people from the church and Mom and I got some songbooks, and we have them there at the nursing home if anybody wants to use them. But it helps us to, everybody can be together and sing the songs, and we have some regulars that come up, and we usually go down half hour before and run around and get people to come, and it's fun. Even when you don't feel like going, because we have plenty of those nights, you can remember that the residents, they really look forward to it. They don't get a lot of, that's the first place where they cut money. When they're cutting back at the nursing home, they cut entertainment a lot. So if there's somebody that can come and, spend some time with them and sing or do whatever, they don't care what we do. It's funny. I mean, they don't care how bad my voice is that day, or if we have to listen to the music, or Polly plays piano for me a lot, which is wonderful. I'm really glad when she comes. They really enjoy us being there. And so I've been asking for our volunteers to come. You don't have to have a voice. They don't care if you have a good voice, bad voice, or anything. If you don't like to sing, we need hands to, turn songbooks and stuff. They turn pages. Some of the people that come, might not have a strong voice, but they walk around and help people get to the same page and things like that. So.
Okay, I'm the president of the Burnt Factory United Methodist Men, and also the president of the District United Methodist Men, which is it's not as much as a lot of people kind of think. The Methodist Men basically is just, we're not anything special or anything unique or different. We're part of just being a part of the church and embracing the goals and of the church. We're not out to do anything separate, but to enhance, as Steve said today, the making disciples of Jesus Christ, and that's our ultimate goal. And the Methodist Men is just a part of the church that we want to support the church and all that the church is about. There are some things that we do to try to allow men to have the opportunity to grow closer with Christ, whether that's through a gleaning event, which, we're lucky to have the Society of St. Andrew in our area, and farmers who are willing to contribute lots of things. So a lot of people that want to do things, don't have the opportunities that we have. So we can go out and glean a whole lot of stuff that ends up helping, the great thing about gleaning too is you can go and just pick stuff up and you have a lot of stuff, but then you can also distribute, and the Society of St. Andrew and Betty Heisman, they do a good job with getting that produce from here to the people. It doesn't go sit on shelves, and to see that, and Betty knows that, your help, and that it really gives that's a true meaning to something. Sometimes you do stuff and you don't really feel you're contributing kind of thing. But with this, you can really see it. And sometimes when you deliver it, you take it right off your truck right to the people. They're there, you know, and it's... Yeah, the Burnt Factory guys, they started, I can't remember the name, they built the handicap ramps. And I forget how many they've built over the course of the years that they've started that, but they've done that for, and not just church members, but community members. And I think the Ruatan Club might give them some names of people that they give. But, you know, they've done a ton of stuff like that to help people along those lines. And the Apple Butter Project, which is, it's neat, I don't like to say that it's a Methodist men's project because it's not, it's a whole church project, and it's neat that the men kind of spearhead it and get behind it, but we mentioned this at the Methodist men's meeting yesterday, that the whole church is involved. You know, while it is a ton of work, it doesn't seem that way, you know, when you get there and, you know, everything gets going, the parts get moving, everybody's jumping in and helping, and it's fun. You know, the snitting of the apples, which is the hardest part there, that takes the longest time, but there's people in there having a good time, you know. It's a pretty daunting project, really, you know, when you look back on it and think of all the stuff that's on it, but it just comes together so smooth because everybody's willing, you know, whether it's the older people, the younger people, the men, the women, the children even, everybody gets in and helps, and it's really neat.
Well, United Methodist Women supports several groups, local groups, ABBA, which is a pregnancy thing, Evans Home, maybe the Laurel Center, I can't remember, but anyway, we financially give to them every year. Evans Home is a local home in the area for children who really have no place to go. Their parents, for whatever reason, are unable to keep them, and I'm not exactly sure how they get referred to Evans Home, but there's people that stay there 24/7, and there's a wide range of ages there where the children, that's where they stay, and then they go to school and they do their activities, and the parents make sure, these house parents make sure that they're taken care of and also teach them what they need to be taught as far as getting along. Project Esperanza is a school in the Dominican Republic, and Caitlin McHale is the founder of the school. She went to the Dominican Republic on a mission trip when she was in college, and she got called to do this, so she has devoted her life to being a missionary in that country. You know, she amazes me. I mean, she was a gal just like we are, and she went over there and felt the calling to stay in that country. Every time I think of her, it just blows me away. You got to really feel the calling to give up everything here in the States and go to a country that doesn't have a whole lot. And I mean, she's adopted some children, and she's had 1 or 2 children of her own. I mean, she gave birth not that long ago in that country with, basically nothing. I'm thinking, God, wow.
The Fremont Street Nursery, it's a nursery for low-income students, and so Tammy, actually through the Bank of Clark County, got involved with it. And for some reason, they just needed, I think they was having some turnover, so we got involved. And it's a neat thing too, because the director, Frida, was a student there. And she could have a job anywhere she wanted, but she's given back to the community because of what it did for her. And it's neat because all the staff there in Frida, they almost think of all those children in there as their own. And just every time you walk in, it's an older building, and it's taken care of, but it's older and in a bad neighborhood. And but the love that they display to them kids, it just melts your heart. You go in there and you see the little, kids are like that anyway. Anytime, where the little kids here that we sing, going up to a service, but inside of there, it just, because too that you're it's one of the roughest neighborhoods in Winchester, and it's just this little hidden jewel right in the middle of all that danger. Really, it's a bad neighborhood, but you can go in there, and you drive from here to there, and you get in there, and it just blossoms, and it's a neat thing. And
so that's actually probably the biggest, I'd say, outreach that we do on a continual basis. Is we started out before I was here at Burnt Factory. The Fremont mission was one that was well established, and the Faith Seekers had donated food to I believe 3 kids that they did on a weekly basis, sent weekend bags to Fremont, and provided a food source, several meals, then snacks that they could have over the weekend, so that they were guaranteed something, because when they're not at school, they may not have the opportunity to have something to eat at every meal. So as things progressed, we were able to get more people to donate. We asked the Unity class to help us, so we were able to increase our number from 3, I think we went to 10, and we're now at 15. So every weekend we're helping 15 kids have a meal, a bag of goodies to take with them for Saturday and Sunday when they're not guaranteed a meal at school.
The other thing I would say about kingdom building is that one of our misunderstandings of kingdom building is that we get to set the agenda. And that's not what Jesus said at all. And that's not where the church really thrives. The church thrives when the church lets God set the agenda. When the church dares to ask the really tough question, what is God already doing, and how can we come alongside of what God is already doing? So kingdom building is really about staying tuned to what God calls us to do. And God has many calls on many people. I think a great example of God's call is what we recently did when we went to down to Evergreen to work on the houses that had been damaged by the tornado. We had a wonderfully diverse team that went, and we went for different reasons. We went with different skills, but God has a way of taking whatever we offer and molding it into what God needs in that situation. And it became a powerful team, not because we were powerful, but because of the way God mixed us together and said, okay, this is what the kingdom's going to mean in this place. It's going to mean hammering here and wiring up here and talking to this person here who's really been devastated by losing everything that they owned.
I've been on missions before to help on a disaster project. I have not helped in that realm, so it was a different experience for me. Certainly the basic construction knowledge has helped in that aspect, but it was neat to just go there and also learn from a lot of the experienced handymen in this church and work alongside them, and I really enjoyed that very much, learning from them and just in contributing to a family that had nothing, and everything was lost, and we were able to contribute to giving them a home back that was theirs.
One of the great things about that's a good question, but one of the great things about that is that we don't always know what it means to them. We're not really there to be thanked. We're not really there to get some sense of applause from people because we've done something for them. I just know that's a seed planting thing we do when we go and help selflessly. And sometimes people say, wow, this has been wonderful. And sometimes people say, gee, I wish you could have done more. So it's kind of bittersweet in that sense. But in the team that goes, they get it. They get that what we're doing has nothing to do with being thanked. Because what they're walking away from that experience of, in that case, 4 days of hard work, they're much richer. We were all much richer for having had that experience. We didn't need to be thanked.
The mission of Watts is to make sure to provide a warm environment for people who are out in the cold at night and who are homeless. And their core mission is to make sure that nobody freezes to death. So the very basic thing that we do is make sure that they have a warm bed and a warm meal. And then the next morning they get breakfast, and then before they leave, they end up getting a lunch that they can take out with them. But the core mission is to make sure that nobody freezes. But we do a lot of other things with them. We try to give them friendship and identity, as far as like trying to understand who they are, and do different things with them, like play games or watch movies, and just make them feel like a person, because a lot of times society will overlook them. So just something as simple as getting to know their name during the week goes a long way as far as like doing something for them. There's a lot of different things within their stories. I mean, the homelessness is usually a symptom of something else, whether it be alcohol addiction or drugs. And one of the interesting things about the Watts program is it is the only shelter within the immediate area that will take somebody without alcohol screening or drug screening or whatever their past might be. They just have to abide by the Watts rules and a certain behavior code when they're in the shelter, and they can come in and be warm. Just that it is a good opportunity, whether somebody would want to support it during the week of just showing up and being able to serve the meals, or if it's something that somebody would want to do, help behind the scenes. There's a lot of administrative stuff that goes into Watts. And then also, if anybody wants to share their gifts financially, I know that the Watts program can use that, and that the church does have a budget line item that we do support Watts financially as well. And there's one gentleman in particular within our congregation. Every year he would want to give the candles, and he would buy the candles that we were selling so that he could tell them that the light of Christ was shining through them. And it was a way that he was able to touch, or he felt like he could touch them by sharing the light of Christ through a candle.
I also brought in a whole lot of donations for CCAP, like the one I'm about to grab. We got a lot of diapers. I brought in 502 diapers, and I brought in 1,000 something baby wipes, and I brought in 4 blankets. At my birthday party, at my 10th birthday party, instead of having presents from everyone, I got donations for CCAP. Because usually kids are like, oh, I want presents because I don't have this yet and I really want it. But I didn't want presents because I already have a lot of stuff. I wanted donations for CCAP. They're gonna help the homeless people and babies and like parents that can't afford anything for their babies.
All right, well, hi, I'm Daniel. I'm in the youth group. I've been going to Burnt Factory ever since I was a little baby. We do mission work. We go on trips together. We have meetings, and we discuss, what God means to us as young people growing up in the society that we have to grow up in. Some type of mission we do is go to like a motel for a motel ministry. We go help the people. We bring them food and any cosmetics they need and any other supplies they need, you know, groceries and stuff like that, you know, and they come to our tables and we give them whatever they need for free, of course. You know, and it's nice because some of them will come out and they'll pray with us, you know, thank us, and it makes you feel good about what you're doing. So we went to Shenandoah University for a mission trip before, where we stayed in the dorms and we helped out locally, and that was a lot of fun. Our last mission trip, we went to a church and it's like there's, you know, the building, the church, and then a bunch of other church youth groups came in. We all slept in like the nursery rooms of the church, and we used their sanctuary as like a meeting place. And they would have kind of sermons every morning and every evening, and then, you know, they send you off, and the whole day you go to usually a work site, and you build or repair whatever those people need, and, you know, you get them supplies, kind of like a motel ministry if they need it.
Yeah, God has a great sense of humor. And in places like Haiti, or I've also been to Mozambique in mission, what you find when you get there is that God got there a long time ago. And what you find in trying to minister with those people is that sometimes they have more to give you than you have to give them, because their faith is so deep, and they have not been as focused on the material things in life that as we have been. And so we learn from them about an inner joy that they have that we long for. And that's part of kingdom building too. It's not all the haves giving to the have-nots. It's the haves and the have-nots finding that all of us need Jesus in the middle of all of that.
What good is it, my brothers, if a man claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save him? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to him, "Go, I wish you well, keep warm and well fed," but does nothing about his physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. But someone will say, "You have faith, I have deeds." Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by what I do. James 2:14 through 18.
A lot of people are coming because people are spreading the word about Burnt Factory. And they're saying, you should come to church sometime. And people are listening and coming here, and our church is growing.
I think we will still be growing. I think we have been a tremendous influence in the community, and I think we still will be for a long time. So I see continued growth here, I really do. I hope we don't outgrow this building because it's so beautiful. I think people are very hungry to hear that God loves them because of all the turmoil in the world today. We really know that we're sinners, but it's just really nice to have a preacher tell you every Sunday that God loves you. And I think that's one of the big secrets to success here.
We didn't lose, not only did we not lose a single member expanding this church, we grew while we were doing the expansion, and we've grown since we got back. And I believe that's because we're doing it for the right reason. I mean, we always have to be humble. This isn't our work. This is the Lord's work that we have done on his behalf. But it's not our work, and it's not a testament to us by any means. And I think the fact that it has worked so well is because we understand that this is just another tool when you really get right down to it. Yes, it's a house of the Lord, and I think that makes it sacred. But it's also a tool. And it's a tool to spread his word in the world. And I think I mentioned you know, this world needs it an awful lot right now. And I don't really anticipate that changing anytime soon. So, you know, I think we had the right destination in our hearts when we set out on the expansion. It's remarkable how much money this, what I think of as a small church, because I remember 65 people a Sunday in here. It's remarkable what's happened here. I mean, we were sitting outside looking at the heat pumps that I remember thinking, wow, that was a big deal when we spent the money to put those things in, you know. It's nice to have cool air. But how far we've come, we've got a bus, you know. We have all these wonderful things to serve the Lord with. And I really believe, I honestly believe that the more you give of yourself, whatever your gifts from the Lord are, because that's where they all come from, whatever you give of yourself comes back to this world tenfold or 1,000-fold or immeasurably.
Just from being involved in church my whole life, you know, there's always, it's like Steve said today, you know, we're not about deeds. You know, deeds aren't going to get us into heaven. But somehow, through everything you've been taught in church, you know, because just, I believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, so that in itself is going to get me to heaven, as long as, you know, as I truly believe that in my heart and I live my life that way. But it's the deeds, you know, the opportunities that God lays before us, whether they're, you know, there's all kinds, but to be able to take advantage of those opportunities and to help others through, you know, all these different missions, it's just trying to do that. But at the end of the day, sometimes you think, you know, you're sitting there and you're watching TV, and you're watching TV for 2 or 3 hours, and you're thinking, couldn't I have been doing something with the 2 or 3 hours, you know? Because you know there's hungry people, there's homeless people, you know, I'm always trying to think, isn't there something else I can be doing? You know, you see a child, you know, at Greenwood Mill Elementary School, a child developed that lunch program where they save their food afterwards, and they're saving hundreds of pounds of food. And you think, you know, a child did that. Why can't I think, you know, I cannot think of more to do to help?
To me, this faith community is the one place that I've always felt as a Christian, like I can practice that. I can say, God is not just within these walls, you know, and I don't just see these people within these walls, you know. You guys are out and doing things, and we see each other, and we're integrated within the community, and we practice our faith, you know, outside of the church. Is not this building. The church is all of us out in the community, you know, going to Jubilee Soup Kitchen and being able to bring my girls with me to do that, those kind of things. Like, it's just more seamless, like you said, that word, seamless.
As the district president of Methodist Men, I try to present opportunities to the men throughout the district of ways that they can just serve. You know, we're not trying to throw out an agenda or even the religion of the church. It's just, or any type of thing of how we perceive the church. It's just ways that men can serve. And it's so easy. You know, you don't have to do a lot to make a big impact on people. And, you know, just getting out there and doing things. You know, there's opportunities abounding, you know, just to help you. And it's not, you don't have to spend a ton of money. You don't have to spend any money. But, you know, to be there, to, you know, whether you're helping kids or the Heart Havens, you know, mowing the grass and being there and spending some time with them, that's, you know, it's amazing. And
if church is about coming in on Sundays, then we miss a great opportunity to witness if it's just about Sundays. But when we take it out into our weekends, into our weekdays and service, we are continually showing people that we really are trying. We're really trying to live the life that God's called us to. And I think we, in that instance, invite more people in than we know, just by the service that we do on a weekly basis to those outside the church.
And I think that's another dimension of kingdom building that people sometimes miss, is that when our kingdom building is going outside the walls of a church, and when we are looking at the needs of a community that are overwhelming, when we are surprised by what God is calling us to do the next day because we're in a strange place and things are needed that we didn't know would be needed, it really binds people together. And so the people that we are working alongside of and the God that we're working alongside of become much more intimate with us in that kind of a setting. And I long for every person in this church to have that kind of experience of being out of their comfort zone, out of their routine, and thrown into a situation where the day doesn't go anywhere close to what they thought it was going to be as a day of mission, and they end up being wonderfully surprised by the people next to them and the God who got there before they did.
In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. Matthew 5:16.
Well, I'm Pastor Steve Malister, and I am privileged to be the pastor here at Burnt Factory United Methodist Church. And I want to thank you, first of all, for looking at the DVD, taking the time to see a little bit about what we do here at this faith community. It just gives you a little sample of all the things that we do here. I'm so privileged and so thankful to be in partnership in ministry with the good folks here at Burnt Factory. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to be a part of this ministry with us. And I hope you will consider continuing with your support of what we're trying to achieve here at Burnt Factory. What undergirds all of our ministry and mission is what Bishop Robert Snavely said in his book about the 5 fruitful practices of congregations. And we try to undergird all of our ministry with his sayings. We try to be radical in our hospitality, and we try to be passionate in our worship. We try to be intentional with our faith development. We try to be risk-taking with our mission and service, and we try to be extravagant with our giving. We are certainly not a perfect place with perfect people, but we do strive to be in God's will and to partner with God, with what God is already doing in the community. We strive to fulfill the mission of the church, which is to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. We partner with Jesus in proclaiming the good news to the poor, providing freedom to those that are imprisoned by all kinds of different things. We hope to revive the sight in the blind. We proclaim the good news of God's word. We want to partner with you, and we invite you to come and be a part of Burnt Factory United Methodist Church. God bless you, and God keep you always. In the name of Jesus, thank you.
Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age. Matthew 28:19 and 20.